This program contains graphic material, including offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised. In the Deep South, one gang rules supreme.
They are terrorizing America. They terrorize Columbia, South Carolina.
They're extremely dangerous.
For these gangsters, shedding blood is a way of life.
I'm represent to the day that I die. Rob, kill, whatever. Get it how you live.
They are the gangster killer bloods.
Not only do they kill each other, but they kill innocent people.
I live every day to the fullest. Blood in, blood out.
Gangland.
Columbia, South Carolina. The capital of the Palmetto State is known for its southern hospitality.
Real, man.
But one gang is threatening that reputation.
We blooded out here, man. This is how we do it, man. We infested this shit like roaches.
The Gangster Killer Bloods, or GKBs.
The Gangster Killer Bloods is a violent street gang. They live by a different code than we do.
This small southern city may have a population of just 120,000. But more than 20 gangs run these streets. The deadliest, the GKBs.
Shootings, home invasions, and carjackings, you name it, we were seeing it.
They didn't care. They just thought that they could do anything they wanted to in Columbia, and they weren't going to be caught.
The Gangsta Killer Bloods have been entrenched in Columbia for more than a decade, causing chaos on its tree-lined streets.
When GKB came into town, soon after there were shootings, there were home invasions, those sorts of activities which Columbia just frankly hadn't seen.
It isn't just about respect, it's about money. The GKBs work hard to rule the area's crack cocaine trade.
The common denominator on all gangs is drugs and violence. So that's going to produce money for the gangs, so why not come in and take over the drug trade here in the Columbia area?
Easy money is the gang's best recruiting tool.
It's about getting money and just about surviving, man. That's all.
I smoking reefer, selling crack, banging, being with my homies.
Ty Kendrick Williamson, AKA Blood Red, was lured into the light when he was just 13.
The blood was always in me. I just felt like I gotta build a foundation now and bang what this thing really supposed to be banged by.
I shine, you shine, we all shine.
Blood Red and the GKBs share one thing: putting in work.
If bang from the heart mean rob this motherfucker for blood, beat this for blood, say this for blood, do that. If not, you ain't blood. You ain't meant to be blood.
The gang is clear. If you aren't with them, you're against them.
This ain't Ohio, man. This is Columbia. This is the bloody South. You ain't blood, it ain't nothing, dog.
GKB has a reputation for brutal violence.
One thing it is do down here is bang. You feel me? Rob, kill, whatever. Get it how you live. Survival of the fittest.
Brandon Richardson, AKA Slim, grew up on Columbia's west side, blood territory.
At 12, I hung around grown-up people just to sit back out west and just watch them and be how they move and just, you know what I'm saying, learning.
When he joined the GKBs, Slim knew all about the life.
It took me 2 years from that point to just have the courage to just want to really be how this life is.
It's a tough life. You have to be ready to fight. You've got to be ready to shoot.
The gang clashes with rivals all over Colombia. But their biggest enemy is the infamous Folk Nation.
If they're having a beef or a fight with a Folk Nation member, they may go through a Folk Nation neighborhood and just open up with their guns into houses randomly.
Last month, one of them little folk got flatlined at the club, you know what I'm saying, out of place. You know that's our club, and he was out of place.
The smallest arguments sometimes spark the largest fights. New Year's Eve, 2006. The GKBs were rolling deep. Travis Pinkston, the gang's cocaine dealer, was running the crew.
Travis Pinkston, because of his access to the cocaine and crack cocaine, it put him in a leadership position. The younger gang members looked up to him and respected him because of the things he did. And he was involved in trafficking cocaine, crack cocaine, and he was involved in multiple shootings. He carried a gun with him almost all the time, and he had a .223 assault rifle, which was something that's very dangerous.
The GKBs stopped by a local hotspot, usually filled with gangs.
Travis Pinkston and some of the GKB members went out to that Silver Dollar nightclub.
But they weren't there to party.
They planned on trying to shoot up the club with another retaliatory shooting. Things didn't work out, so they left.
The night was young, and the gang was determined to settle some scores.
A group of Bloods left the Silver Dollar Club, headed down to get gas, so they stopped at the Sunoco gas station.
The GKBs found what they were looking for.
While they were there getting gas, a Folk Nation gang member was there. He saw the GKB members, and he walked up over kind of in front of them and started throwing gang signs. But indicated he was a rival gang member.
The gang took exception to the flashing of signs.
GKB members in turn throw up their rival gang signs. The Folk Nation member pulls his shirt up, shows that he has a gun in his waistband.
The move was major disrespect, and they weren't about to let him get away with it.
The GKB members then grab their guns out of the vehicle that they're in, and a gunfight happens right there in the middle of a Sunoco parking lot.
The 8 GKB members unloaded, firing several rounds in the middle of the station.
New Year's Eve, everybody's going to be out. Innocent people are going to be hit in this crossfire.
Their rival didn't have a chance.
The Folk Nation gang member. I believe he was struck approximately 9 times.
Colombia had been put on notice.
It's really serious. And if you ain't built like that, don't come around. Don't put yourself in this predicament. And it's beef going on, and it ain't gonna be stopped till we win.
Columbia, South Carolina. In 1865, Union General William T. Sherman burned most of the city to the ground. Now, the GKBs are threatening to torch it once again.
The Gangster Killer Bloods, they're a pretty violent gang here in Columbia. They're known pretty much for selling crack. They supplement that with armed robberies, home invasions.
The Gangsta Killer Bloods trace their roots back to Rikers Island in New York City. In 1993, the United Blood Nation was formed to fight the powerful Latin Kings. It grew quickly, and soon the Gangsta Killer Bloods were formed.
Up top New York is where the GKB chapter originally came from. The movement of GKB is just like setting a fire in the woods. Once you set a fire, it's gonna spread.
The GKBs began spreading all over the eastern seaboard. And in 1999, 23-year-old James Powell, aka Munchie, brought the gang to Columbia.
He was a ranking member in the Bloods in New York. When he came to South Carolina, made some friends here.
The area proved to be fertile territory.
Specifically, Powell came down here originally to be involved in the drug market from the information we had, and basically spread the gang, recruited members or people to be a part of his gang.
While drugs were nothing new in Colombia, large, organized, and lethal gangs were. Munchie knew this and took advantage.
Munchie was here downtown Columbia, and he was selling here, and a lot of the people he was recruiting was people that were part of these local street crews that were selling drugs here in Columbia. And as these recruitments take place, they just start growing in numbers, slowly but surely.
Early on, it was more of the fad. All the kids wanted to be gangster. From that point, it grew from the fad to the actual, okay, we're in it to make money.
Munchie began to lay down the rules.
For GKB, we was put here to clean up, because it was a lot of homie-on-homie activities going on.
It was here just to change your outlook. If your mind was not understanding and living the culture of the blood movement, GKB was cleaning it up.
The offer of easy money and respect was enticing in a city where 20% of those under 18 lived below the poverty line.
They wanted fast cars, they wanted women, they wanted the money that comes along with drug dealing.
But once you got hundreds of people behind you, it's totally different. You feel like Tony Montana, you're on top of the world, you know? You're unstoppable.
The GKBs began gaining power under Munchie's leadership.
He would teach the blood culture. GKB have a very specific set of rules. They have specific protocols that they want to follow. They have a specific rank structure. And Munchie was setting all that up here in Columbia.
Without no leadership, and you ain't got nobody that's here to show you and give you the understanding of being what you represent.
With the increased size and power, the money started rolling in.
Expanding the ranks is just make it easier for making the money. The drug trafficking and the weapon trafficking, if you have chapters set up in different areas of the country, especially between New York and the Miami area, it's just an easier way to traffic their drugs and their narcotics.
It's got to spread, because you got the lure, so a lot of us chose to be blood.
By 1999, the GKBs were gaining control of the city's most lucrative crack area, the Gonzales Gardens.
To sell crack in that neighborhood, you either had to be from there, had to be a family member of someone from there, or you had to be a GKB member.
If you're not part of our movement, yo, we was cleaning you up.
The gang continued to be controlled by New York until 2000.
Munchie actually went to jail in 2000. He had created some leadership here in Columbia that took over while he was in jail. So during that time, the Bloods really actually flourished.
Brandon Richardson, AKA Slim, says the gang was growing stronger.
I heard about GKB back in early 2000 when I used to be around my uncle. He wasn't affiliated, and he just got a lot of homeboys that's affiliated with it.
Slim wasn't sure he wanted to join until a run-in with the Crips changed his mind.
I came down here with a lot of crabs at, and they jumped me. And I just, you know, I ain't knew nothing about gangs at the time, but when that happened, that just made me have hatred for blue.
By 2002, he was officially a GKB.
Once that opportunity had presented itself, you know what I'm saying, I took that opportunity. I wore that red, and I liked it.
The GKBs were on top, but they had rivals.
This was fertile territory. This was ripe for the taking for someone. It was the Bloods, the Crips, the folk nations. The major gangs wanted to come in here, and they wanted to have Columbia.
There were some retaliatory shootings on behalf of the GKB as well as the folk nation, their direct rival.
folk, they wear all black. They dirty, they tacky, so you can spot them easily. No nappy heads, all black on, just dirty.
The turf wars soon began. The violence was staggering.
You see get hit with locks in the socks, poles. It is mayhem. Watching get poked in the neck, hit with a lock. There's blood everywhere.
The GKBs were changing the face of Colombia. The carnage could no longer be contained. And a new figure was rising. 22-year-old Gerard Price. Gerard was a familiar face to local police.
Gerard Price, he was extremely articulate. Didn't have a lot of formal education. He had chosen his path, unfortunately very early in life, with the desire to make the Bloods here in this area a very powerful force. Unfortunately, he was just bright enough and ruthless enough to make it happen.
December 6th, 2002. The Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity was hosting a party at Club Voodoo, a gangster hotspot. GKB member Gerard Price was partying with his crew when they encountered some Crips.
Crips and the Bloods are definitely rivals, so as they're all there at the same club, they're going back and forth.
Suddenly, one of the college students, Carl Smalls, crossed the line.
One of the ex-Carolina football players who had transferred and was playing for the University of North Carolina does a Crip walk. That's just a big sign of disrespect.
You from South Carolina, the home of the Bloods, and you Crip walk. What you think? It's gonna be tragic, man. You in the club Crip walk, no.
Gerard Price wasn't about to let Carl Smalls get away with this brazen disrespect.
During the course of the evening, it apparently evolved into a confrontation between Mr. Smalls and Gerard Price, who took offense at what he thought was disrespect of the Bloods gang.
The bar crowd started to thin out as closing time neared.
Unfortunately, for Mr. Smalls, and as the evening wore on, friends of his that may have been able to step in and keep things from getting out of hand began to leave the party, and so he was left there virtually alone.
Price found Smalls and pulled a gun.
Because of what was perceived disrespect of the Bloods, Gerard Price and others murdered him in the back hallway of that club.
Justice came swiftly for Price. The case went to trial in December 2003, and the jury took only 30 minutes to convict him for the murder. Price was sentenced to 35 years.
Price, had he chosen a different path, I think could have been an extremely successful individual in this world. It was a waste of 2 lives.
Smalls' murder wasn't just a gang slaying. It was a very public display of a growing problem. Local law enforcement knew something had to be done, and fast.
It progressed, and for a period of time, it was all-out war.
The niggas in Compton, the in the Bronx, wherever, they ain't got nothing on us, man.
Columbia, South Carolina. The area is an outdoorsman's paradise, with world-class kayaking and an average high temperature of 75 degrees. But it is also home to one of the deadliest gangs in the South.
All the crap, all the donut, LA ain't got nothing on us.
The Gangsta Killer Bloods, or GKBs, were built on the money of the illegal drug trade.
You could come out and buy crack really anywhere on the street. The group would kind of congregate. You would notice that they were wearing all red, or flagged up as they call it. They'd have their red bandanas pretty much along this whole street.
If you ain't wearing no red, then don't come out here, because you ain't 9 out of 10, you might not make it from out here, you feel me?
Columbia is a lucrative market with plenty of addicts.
Any neighborhood that's infested with crack cocaine, the customers are always there. And if the customers are always going to be there, there's always going to be a need for the product. It's supply and demand.
20, straight 20. 20, you heard? We do it big out here.
In a town with few options, dealing drugs is the easiest way to quick cash.
What's left to do? They ain't hiring us. Don't want to let us come shoot ball because they think we're going to fight. So why not give them what they want?
They're selling them about a quarter of a gram or a third of a gram for $20 a shot. A street-level gang member is making a couple of $1,000s a week. But he didn't really have a lot to show for it because the rest of that time that he's not selling, he's in the club spending it on girls and liquor.
There are 3 ways into the GKBs.
If a family member has a blood status or if they have a really good friend, they can be blessed in. The other way is for female blood members, and they can be sexed in. The more common way to get into the GKB is to be beat in. And basically they take a beating for 31 seconds from their fellow gang members.
Slim took the beating, known as the 31.
You gotta take that 31 seconds, you know what I'm saying? That consists of getting your ass tore up for them 31 seconds, defending yourself.
Slim says it changed his life.
You all for yourself at that moment until you be reborn. I mean, it was worth it, believe that.
Either you gonna get down or lay down.
The GKBs see female members, called rubies, as equals.
The role the females got to play is, you know what I'm saying, stay ratchet, stay blooded out. They just as worse as us. They're dogs just like us, no exception. They official, they ready.
There are women involved in the drug trafficking. Women are less likely to be stopped by the police hauling drugs.
New recruits often put in work by tagging GKB's turf.
It's basically to claim a territory. Hey, this is our area, stay away. If you're doing that type of drug transactions, they're letting the community know who's in charge.
The gang symbols include a 5-pointed star, standing for body, unity, love, lust, and soul. The GKBs also represent by flashing signs.
The East Side and the GKB.
The gang's name, Gangster Killer Bloods, has evolved. Many of the younger generation now call themselves G-Shine. They say the new name is about a fresh start.
GKB was converted over to G-Shine. I'm new generation, you feel me? GKB guns, knives, and bullets, you feel me? That's dirty work. That's all about chaos. That's the kill. Now G-Shine, stay clean.
I shine, we shine. G-Shine. That's what it be.
Columbia police say the name change was more practical.
It was found that a set of Crips in California that referred to themselves as gangster kill bloods or gangster killing bloods. So the names were too similar, so leaders decided to change the name to G-Shine.
The GKBs also show their affiliation with their ink.
This right here got 5 teardrops on the red here. It's supposed to be red, but the color came out of, you know, and my 5-point stars going around it.
The gang's hardest members are even known to brand themselves.
They have what are called dog paws, or triple O's. They basically take a cigar or a cigarette and place it on their right shoulder, and then they burn the cigarette into their arm, causing a burn that raises up so it forms like 3 points, like the edge of a star.
GKB has some other unusual rituals.
The GKB has frequent gang meetings. A lot of times they'll meet at grave sites of their fallen homies. They'll pour some liquor over the grave to give their fallen homie his drink, and they'll discuss the gang's activities.
They met at a graveyard in the middle of the night, and there was probably 20 or 30 gang members. They would all chant "G's up" for gangsters up, and the sound resonated throughout the graveyard. It was very entertaining, very interesting, and actually kind of spooky.
GKB speaks in code to hide their dealings from law enforcement.
They'll use different language to affect what they're saying. When they're trying to order up crack cocaine, instead of just saying, I want $150 worth of crack, they'll say, give me some knowledge, power, cipher.
They would say cipher for 0. 1 was knowledge. So this went all the way down the line. And they would try to use this numbering system to thwart law enforcement efforts, to keep us from figuring out exactly what they're saying.
For GKB, keeping secrets is rule number 1. The gang has a strict policy against snitching.
You got to watch your man, not only for opposition, but for them pigs, man, because they try to get to know you. They hear my friends. We don't tolerate snitching. Nah, I don't know you.
Local authorities use informants to gather intelligence about GKB.
We take 2 of them. We take them to the side. Now we say, y'all 2 just did a crime, okay? This crime is gonna cost you 10 years of your life. So you mean to tell me you willing to do 10 years for this guy?
We end up in federal prison with just 2 types of people, those that cooperate and those that wish they did.
Once the gang detects a snitch, they have ways of dealing with them.
Once you be sold out as a rat, you disowned. If you snitch, you better be moving. Before you go tell, pack your bags, empty your house out.
The gang makes most of its cash dealing drugs, but they're always looking for other sources of income.
Biggest criminal activity is robbing other drug dealers. You rob another drug dealer who's already sold his drugs and he's got $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. You just, in a quick hit, took all his profits.
They would actually plan these robberies. They'd get 3 or 4 or 5 guys. They would decide, okay, who's going to have the guns, who's going to tape the people up, or whatever they had planned for that particular home invasion.
The crimes are rarely reported.
9 out of 10 times, another drug dealer, he's not going to report that to the police. He's just going to either take his loss, maybe try and take his revenge some other way.
The GKBs dominate by one means: firepower. Their weapon of choice is the AK-47.
You can get out here and shoot up some apartment complex or burn up some homes, shoot the next man that's representing a different color. If it come down to gang banging, then gang banging is what you get.
If I was to see a Crip or a folk, you know what I'm saying? Whatever level he want to take it to, I can get on any level he wants.
Columbia nightclubs are often ground zero for the war between GKB and the folk nation.
They go down in the club. In this corner, you got your blood. In this corner, you got your opposition, which might be folks or Crips. It's gonna go down once you got this many people in here.
You go to the club, you handle your business. It's just being aware of your surroundings. You open season at nightclub.
Trouble can erupt from something as simple as touching a GKB's flag.
Touching my flag and you ain't initiated, that's trouble. He gonna get handled. And once one swing, we all come. You better believe that, you know, we all gonna get on that ass regardless.
And the GKBs are known to bring the wrath. Anytime, anywhere.
This is how we do this thing, man. South Carolina, cutthroat, baby.
Columbia, South Carolina, 2003. The gangsta Killer Bloods had taken control of the 803.
803, man, to read this right up. And it's a movie.
And the violence was increasing.
You got homies out there just want to ride around with that red on, scream out the window, you know what I'm saying, and shoot at people, kill people.
The community obviously became pretty upset, and they wanted law enforcement addressing the problem.
The gang problem the city had long denied was now impossible to ignore.
The violence started peaking around 2004. Someone such as the Folk Nation came into their neighborhood. There was no problem for them to pull out a gun and start pistol play.
It ain't really the day where you just jump out, fight. You know what I'm saying? Don't come back through my hood. Nah, shooting and asking questions later. You feel me?
That same year, local police combined with the FBI to form the Violent Gang Task Force.
Once they can make the community feel as though it's gangs here, you know they're gonna turn up the heat.
Look, enough is enough. Let's get the full weight of the United States government behind this effort, and let's do something about it.
The FBI involvement meant federal statutes applied.
Really, our greatest federal tool in fighting the gangs is our drug laws. If a person has 2 prior felony drug convictions, it's a mandatory life sentence. And the only way someone can come off of those mandatory minimums is to cooperate with us.
The main target of the newly formed task force, the GKBs.
We all identified Gangster Killer Bloods as the best and worst example of gang activity that we should target.
No folks, no Crips, and no love. If it ain't that red, there's no love. We terrorize the people who want to be terrorized.
October 9th, 2004. The South Carolina State Fair was underway in Columbia when chaos broke out.
It go down at the State Fair, man. You got everybody meeting up at once, and everybody is banging, you know what I'm saying? That flag done got so hot around here.
The fair was winding down for the night when a GKB member pulled out a gun and opened fire.
A young man was shooting at another gang member, a rival gang member, and he ended up shooting his cousin. Killed him.
The community was shocked by the public murder.
They try to have a lot of security out of it, but security ain't gonna stop it. They can't. The only thing they can do is just slow it down. That's about it. I prevent innocent bystanders from being in a situation.
The city demanded action. Slim was among the GKBs who got caught up in the police dragnet.
I got jammed up, you know what I'm saying? All robbery charge, see it was gang affiliated.
But even behind bars, Slim couldn't avoid the lifestyle.
I had a little crab pull out a blade on me that long, and he come to the gate and try to stick the blade through and hit me, but it didn't. He missed me, and I backed up to the other side.
The streets of Columbia were no safer. Instead, the war with the Folk Nation grew more intense.
Once it started popping off, it don't cool down for a couple of years, you feel me?
Within a 3-year period, police recorded 10 murders, 30 assaults with intent to kill, and 59 aggravated assaults.
We had a series of gang-related shootings. We had several gang shootings amongst teenagers or younger, where they were either pulling the trigger or they were the receiver of the actual shooting.
GKB was not alone. We had other gangs that they were either pushing out of the way or that were pushing back against them. So you were able to see it play out in the sense of body counts, hospital visits. It had become very violent.
The task force knew the drug trade held the key to stopping the violence. They soon began surveillance of GKB's top cocaine dealer, Travis Pinkston.
The only way to get into this gang and to bring it down was to infiltrate the gang, get surveillance, both electronic and physical surveillance, and to monitor the activities of this gang.
The agents followed Pinkston all over the city, trying to find clues about how the GKBs operated.
The gang keeps an AK-47 at a certain apartment. If somebody needs it, they'll call for it. We've intercepted phone calls where they're calling, asking where the AK was at because they needed to go handle some business. Sometimes they get upset when they can't find it because the person didn't turn it in.
By the end of 2006, the violence was even spilling over to the internet.
The internet most definitely played a key role in the formation of our gangs. They use the internet on a daily basis. Now, that's their form of communication.
But what started online would soon be live.
It escalated from the MySpace into a nightclub, and the GKB members see these Folk Nation members. The Folk Nation members throw up some derogatory gang signs. Later, the Folk Nation members see the GKB and start shooting out of their car.
The shooting escalated with no concern for innocent bystanders.
The Folk Nation get their AK-47 and their other guns. The GKB members, they run and grab their guns, and they're having this running gun battle. And these apartments are in between this gunfire.
Some of the rounds had gone all the way through, from the outside of the building through multiple bedrooms. Amazingly, no one was actually hit.
What's a bystander could be sitting on the porch? They should know, well, if I see red and I see blue or black, I know something about to go on. Let me go in this house. They know it's gonna be something.
The task force feared the rising danger to the public. And less than 2 weeks later, their worry was confirmed. January 1st, 2007. New Year's Day. A group of GKBs looking for trouble rolled into a gas station, only to find a member of the Folk Nation.
A rival Folk Nation gang member comes out of the front door of the store. He makes several pitchfork signs with his hands, which are gang hand signs indicative of the Folk Nation. There's probably 9 or so GKB members piled into a Tahoe.
The GKBs flashed signs back. Then the Folk Nation member revealed his gun.
Pulls his t-shirt up, and he's got a pistol, a semi-automatic pistol in his waistband.
GKB members then get out of their vehicle completely with their guns.
The shootout ensues right there at the gas station. Someone's wife and children could have been at the pumps right next to it. And they're just shooting back and forth.
The GKBs quickly overpowered their rival.
The Folk Nation member is shot. I believe he got shot 9 times.
The GKBs didn't think twice.
It was right there in front of everyone, open business hours, and with no care in the world about who was around. It was, a lot of laughing and joking on the phones, and then they went home, dropped everybody off, and then called it a night.
But the Folk Nation member they left to die made it to the hospital.
The Folk Nation member would make his way back to his partner's car, another gang member, who then drove him to the hospital and just dropped him off.
The GKBs had sent a message. Disrespect us, and you'll pay the ultimate price. The anti-gang task force knew they were running out of time.
The incident at the Sunoco made us take a serious look at our investigation, how much longer we could keep our wiretaps going, and how much longer we could keep these guys on the street.
And what made it so bad, we from South Carolina, we was ratchet, guns, knives, bullets, and all. That's how we do it, G-Shine.
Columbia, South Carolina. By January 2007, the Gangsta Killer Bloods were 200 strong and in the middle of a gang war with the Folk Nation. But the Columbia Anti-Gang Task Force had decided it was time to end the gang.
After all these shootings had happened, we realized that if we don't get these GKB members off the street, somebody's going to get killed.
On January 26th, authorities began serving 15 GKB members with indictments. Charges ranged from drug dealing to firearm possession.
We decided who were the 15 most violent guys right off the bat that we needed to take off the street immediately. We executed 8 search warrants that day and attempted to apprehend the 15 individuals.
From January through June 2007, they arrested a total of 23 individuals in the case.
We're able to take out some of the most violent members of the GKB. The other GKB members that we didn't get were running scared at that point because they didn't know what was happening. They didn't know what the feds were going to do.
Travis Pinkston, the gang's biggest drug dealer, was among those indicted.
He was probably the drug leader of the set because he had the most drugs at the time. He was basically in charge because he was controlling the drug network from the foot soldier point of view.
Most of the GKBs pled guilty.
23 individuals were convicted. 2 individuals opted for trial. The rest pled guilty. The 2 that went to trial were convicted by a federal jury. All of those individuals have now been sentenced, and those sentences range from 5 years up to 40 years for leaders and suppliers.
The results were immediate. The number of violent crimes in Colombia dropped to a 14-year low. But the task force knows their work isn't done.
If I have a fear, it's that we get comfortable and say that we've been successful, and then we quit doing what we're doing. You know, so we're going to fight that, and then we're going to make sure that we keep going.
The increased police presence has surprised some GKBs, including Slim.
I was just building in the neighborhood. Narcotics came kicking in the door, you know. Talking about, we hear about this blood stuff, you know, guns and drugs. The police gonna mess with you.
The cops have done little to scare off Slim, who's teaching his ways to the next generation.
I got a little girl, you know what I'm saying? She recognized me because, you know, she know her daddy have on red all the time. You know what I'm saying? She just got an eye for it, you know, my little blood drop.
A new wave of gangsters are hitting the streets, replacing the ones getting locked up or killed. It's a never-ending cycle of violence.
This generation getting older, and this is getting more serious, you know what I'm saying? One moment, this gang stuff on the load, and one moment it's all over the place. And once it starts popping off, it goes on and goes on.
Colombia's proximity to Atlanta is helping the Bloods grow their drug market.
Atlanta's become sort of a hub for Mexican drug trafficking, whether it's cocaine or meth or other drugs. And we have a highway system that will put you anywhere on the East Coast in very short order. And it's used by folks who want to transport drugs and guns either out of this state or into this state.
The gangsta killer Bloods aren't going anywhere, and they're even deepening ties with Mexican cartels.
Because of the increased enforcement operations, it became too risky for drug dealers to go down and try to travel back with the cocaine. So what we've seen is that the cartels are actually assisting by bringing the cocaine all the way up to Atlanta now, whereas before you had to drive to Texas or Miami to pick up cocaine.
The increase in convenience means an increase in price and more money for the GKBs.
Where in the past, someone from Colombia would go to Atlanta and purchase a kilogram of cocaine for $22,000, could drive it back here, sell it for $24,000. The cartels now, bringing the cocaine here, are selling it for $28,000 up to as much as $31,000 a kilo.
Blood Red plans to stay in the gang no matter what.
The police, they trying to get real ratchet right now. The only thing that's gonna happen is P's gonna get killed for with the Bloods. That's all gonna happen.
Even after spending 7 years behind bars, Blood Red is more loyal to the gang than ever.
I see me as being the Blood till I die. And I can't really say how I see my life no more, because being the Blood, I mean, you hate it. We one of the most hated organization it is. So everywhere we go, is gonna hate or gonna disrespect, and you gotta handle your business.
For the gangsta killer Bloods, it's a commitment to the death. Whenever it comes.
Being a member of the GKB, there's only 2 things that are going to happen to you. You're going to wind up in prison, or you're going to wind up dead.
I live one day at a time, but I live life to the fullest every day.
They put my big feet in the ground. I'm gonna live this life. Got to. Ain't no turning back.
blood was always in me. I just felt like I gotta build a foundation now and bang what this thing really supposed to be banged by.
I shine, you shine, we all shine.
Blood Red and the GKBs share one thing: putting in work.
Bang from the heart mean rob this for blood, beat this for blood, say this for blood, do that. If not, you ain't blood. You ain't meant to be blood.
The gang is clear. If you aren't with them, you're against them.
This ain't Ohio, man. This is Columbia. This is the bloody South. You ain't blood, it ain't nothing, dog.
GKB has a reputation for brutal violence, causing chaos on its tree-lined streets.
When GKB came into town, soon after there were shootings, there were home invasions, those sorts of activities which Columbia just frankly hadn't seen.
It isn't just about respect, it's about money. The GKBs work hard to rule the area's crack cocaine trade.
The common denominator on all gangs is drugs and violence. Well, that's going to produce money for the gang, so why not come in and take over the drug trade here in the Columbia area?
Easy money is the gang's best recruiting tool.
Just about getting money and just about surviving, man. That's all.
Out smoking reefer, selling crack, banging, being with my homies.
Ty Kendrick Williamson, a.k.a. Blood Red, was lured into the light when he was just 13. This program contains graphic material, including offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised. In the Deep South, one gang rules supreme.
They are terrorizing America. They terrorize Columbia, South Carolina.
They're extremely dangerous.
For these gangsters, shedding blood is a way of life.
And I'm represent to the day that I die.
Rob, kill, whatever. Get it how you live.
They are the gangster killer bloods.
Not only do they kill each other, but they kill innocent people.
I live every day to the fullest. Blood in, blood out.
Columbia, South Carolina. The capital of the Palmetto State is known for its southern hospitality.
One thing they do down here is bang. You feel me? Rob, kill, whatever. Get it how you live. Survival of the fittest.
Brandon Richardson, a.k.a. Slim, grew up on Columbia's west side. Blood territory.
At 12, I hung around grown people just to sit back out west and just watch them and be how they move and just, you know what I'm saying, learning.
When he joined the GKBs, Slim knew all about the life.
It took me 2 years from that point to just have the courage to just want to really be how this life is.
It's a tough life. You have to be ready to fight. You've got to be ready to shoot.
The gang clashes with rivals all over Columbia. But their biggest enemy is the infamous Folk Nation.
Real, man.
But
one gang is threatening that reputation.
We blooded out here, man. This is how we do it, man.
We infested this shit like roaches.
The Gangsta Killer Bloods, or GKBs.
The Gangster Killer Bloods is a violent street gang. They live by a different code than we do.
This small southern city may have a population of just 120,000. But more than 20 gangs run these streets. The deadliest, the GKBs.
Shootings, home invasions and carjackings, you name it, we were seeing it.
They didn't care. They just thought that they could do anything they wanted to in Columbia and they weren't going to be caught.
The gangsta Killer Bloods have been entrenched in Colombia for more than a decade.